we play a round called Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mother Hugger. This round involves Alistair and Ishan, so if you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch a wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Our first topic, please. Let's spin the wheel. And the topic is exercise. Who wants to command that?
I'll take this one. Now, the thing is, I've always been a bigger guy. My name is Ishan Akbar, and at school, my nickname was Snack Bar. Which is a pretty good name. And recently, there's been a bit of a move towards, like, the body positivity movement. And I have to say, I am body positive in that my body is positive for high cholesterol and high blood pressure. So during this lockdown, I thought, right, OK, I'm going to try and lose a bit of weight. And here's the thing. My attitude to weight loss is a bit like Labour's attitude to getting elected, in that we both really want it to happen, but neither of us can be bothered to do anything about it. I went online and I got completely overwhelmed by how much information there is on how to lose weight, diet plans, exercise plans. But I found a foolproof plan on how to lose weight. It's called the Free School Meals Challenge, where for £30 a week, they send you £5 worth of food. You don't need a gym. It's amazing, right? And here's something I learned. I learned that different cultures and different communities have different attitudes to weight loss and exercise. So my girlfriend is a liberal middle-class white lady because I'm doing well. And people like her, you know, liberal middle-class people, they all do the same thing. They'll be like this. They'll be like, oh, God, I've had such a tiring week at work. Teams meeting, Zoom meeting, all sorts of meetings. I need a day to do absolutely nothing. And then, irrespective of the weather, you'll find a waterproof coat, find the nearest hill, walk up that hill, walk down that hill, and have some weak tea and weak soup at the end of it. Why? Why do liberal middle-class white people like doing walking, camping, tough mudder, the things that refugees need to survive? You make it your leisure activity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ishan. OK, that leaves us with Alistair. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. The topic is physical appearance.
Yes, I have one of those. Good. For context, my full name is Alistair Beckett-King. Now, I'd never know what kind of impression it makes, so I'm thinking of changing the hyphen to a comma, so it becomes Alistair Beckett, King. So much more impressive. But I actually live in a stained glass window depicting the martyrdom of John the Baptist. Now, a few of you might be thinking, I don't know if I can visualise the martyrdom of John the Baptist, but you can, because it looks exactly like this. That's right, I'm Britain's leading New Testament impersonator. Congratulations. But people will ask you that question, have you found Jesus? Have you found Jesus? They say it can be difficult to find Jesus. And this confuses me because, in my experience, he's usually right in the middle of the paintings, you know? Slap bang in the centre. If you're struggling, I'm going to give you a bit of advice. What you want to be looking for is, like, a guy, probably wearing white, raising one hand as if to say, yeah, I'm Jesus. No, this guy, right? If that isn't enough for you, don't worry. There'll be other clues. There are, like, up to 12 other guys, really well-drawn robes and beards, all going, oh, look, it's Jesus. Who's that guy? Sometimes Doubting Thomas is there, getting a poke at the wound, you know? Doubting Thomas, or as I call him, sensibly waiting for empirical evidence Thomas, getting a poke. All I'm trying to get at is the whole of Western Christian art is a much easier version of Where's Wally? But let's be serious, you know, I would never compare me to Jesus, although a lot of builders have, because, well, I don't look like Jesus. Let's be sensible. I don't look like Jesus because I'm white, whereas Jesus was imaginary, so... Apologies to any Christians for whom I've spoiled the surprise. I'm sorry.
Okay, points go to Alistair. Come back to now. We play a round called Sage Something Nice or Sage Nothing at All. This game involves Felicity and Darren, so if you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch a wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Our first topic, please. The first topic is health. Who wants to come in that?
Me?
Darren.
I haven't really been taking care of my health recently. I've been eating really bad. And during lockdown, I got into something I'd never tried before. I became addicted. Red wine. Yeah. Never had red wine before. Love it. I am all about the wine. Here's what I've learned, right? Don't read the label. You know, the label on red wine, it's always quite nice and fancy. It's like the smooth, aromatic, infused spices blended together. It sounds good. But here's my problem with the label, right? The serving suggestion. It always makes it sound like you've got a classier evening planned. It's like, oh, this wine goes well with lamb. Lamb? I'm not having lamb. I hope this wine goes well with quavers. I realised I had a bit of a drinking problem during lockdown, especially with the wine. You know when you've got a problem when it comes to the recycle day? And I realised that I had to go out intermittently on the day to put my bottles out, because if I put all my wine bottles in one go, it would sound like a calypso band. I'm all over the place, man, like emotionally and with my feelings. All right, I'll give you an example of what happens to me, right, every now and again. Sometimes I'll be in my house, I live alone, it's just me, right? And I'll be like, ooh, I want some sex. I am in the mood for some sex. And I'll just walk around like, oh, man, I'm horny. I'd love to have some sex, man. And then I'll go downstairs, make myself a sandwich, eat it, and I'll be like, yeah, that's what I needed. I was hungry, not horny. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Darren. OK, that leaves us with Felicity. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. And the topic is relationships.
OK. I have been in 3 long-distance relationships. The last one ended, sadly, in marriage. If you haven't been in a long-distance relationship, it's a powerful combination of abstinence and poor Wi-Fi connection. And I don't care who says they're fine with it, it's humiliating masturbating while wearing a headset. Honestly, it's... Just looking at each other, you're like, I think he's going to orgasm or land a plane. I don't know. Please don't tell me you're doing this from an internet cafe. And... You know, everyone's on Zoom now. You know, it used to be Skype, rest in peace. But when I Skyped, it would always freeze on the ugliest face I could possibly pull. Like, at least with FaceTime, the screen goes a little bit blurry and the words come up, and just nicely it just says, you have poor connectivity. You know? And what that meant was, just do something about your face, yeah? That's why it's called FaceTime. It's time to sort this out, yeah? Not Skype. Skype's like, you're a dog, here's proof. Or I don't know if you ever had this, sometimes it would freeze and then repeat the last half second of action, so your face would be down in the corner going, habada, 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 habada. Someone's looking at you going, giggada, 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 giggada. Just 2 people being maniacs at each other. Thank you.
Lovely stuff. Well done. Very good. Points there go to Dara. Come on back. Thank you. Now we play a round called Pfizer Chiefs. This game involves Angela and Robin. So if you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch a wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Our first topic, please. The first topic is masculinity. Who wants to come in that? Robin.
It's a lovely picture of me. I come from Wales, which is a very masculine part of the world, I feel. My dad is a very masculine man. He's a beautiful man, very blunt, though. Before I did stand-up, I'd never been in a relationship before, and I said to my dad, Dad, I'm thinking of doing stand-up. And he said, well, Robin, a lot of stand-ups, they talk about having sex or their relationships, so what are you going to talk about? Piss off, Dad. Talk about mum's affair, that's what I'll talk about. Hi, if you're both watching. Wales, beautiful part of the world, amazing place. You should come when there's not a pandemic on. It's my favourite thing about Wales is that we have free prescriptions on the NHS. Oh, my God. So, I've been on the pill for 4 years. It's just nice to regulate. People get very annoyed about the war on men. People have boycotted companies. Gillette got boycotted a few years ago because they had quite a woke advert where they called out toxic masculinity. Like, I'm not going to boycott Gillette. It's not going to do them any harm if I do. I shave once every Eurovision. It's going to do them no harm at all. But I can't boycott Gillette. I'm not going to boycott Gillette. I can't use Wilkinson's sword. Wilkinson's sword? I can't use Wilkinson's sword because that's what my friend Barry Wilkinson used to call his penis. Just brings back so many memories, you know? Hi, Mum and Dad, if you're watching. I think men change their behaviour when they're around other men, though. Like, stag do is a perfect example. My stag do started in a Wetherspoons in Cardiff, and then it got worse, right? Wetherspoons, they're always in such, like, old, grand, beautiful buildings. Like, you've kind of got to respect them. Like, Tim Martin, the guy who created it, like, imagine the balls of that man to go, like, I'm going to create a chain of pubs in old, beautiful buildings. Cool, they're going to be nice inside? No. You're going to serve food? Sort of. What time are you going to open? 6 a.m. Drink from 6 a.m. like an airport? Yes. Except no one's going anywhere. Thank you very much, yeah.
Come on. Well done. Very good. OK, that leaves us with Angela. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. And the topic is children.
Yes, I don't have kids. My fiancé and I, we don't want kids. We're in our 40s now, so we sort of sold on that idea. You know, it's unlikely to happen anyway now. His sperm sort of gets to the egg and just forgets what it went in there for. Sometimes people can't get their head around you being a woman who doesn't want to have kids. It really blows their mind. And sometimes I've had people get angry with me, like on Twitter when I talk about being happy and child-free. They get really angry. And often it's the same people who are also angry about high levels of immigration in this country. Well, are we full up or not? Pick a team. Loads of my friends have kids, and I love my friends' kids. I do. I take them out, I spoil them, I treat them. I love that. There's one I hate, but the rest. Awkward, isn't it? It's awkward when you hate one of your friend's kids. I don't know if you've had that. I think my friend knows I hate her kid as well. Yeah, he's an only child. They live in a block of flats. For his birthday, I bought him a seesaw. It's different. Kids today, it's different. Like, a couple of years ago, right, I took my friend's kid out for the day. Now, look, some of you watching at home, you'll be the same age as me. You'll have grown up when I did in the 1970s, when our playgrounds were made of concrete, weren't they? Concrete and scaffold poles. There was none of this bouncy shit on the floor, was there? You fell off concrete onto concrete. That was it. In the 1970s, a kid's playground was completely indistinguishable from a building site, wasn't it? The only way you could tell the difference is that on a building site, they made you wear protective clothing. We were left to fend for ourselves. No one born after 1987 knows what it's like to have a scab that lasts for 6 years, do they?
Thank you very much, Angela Barnes. Well done. Points there to Robert Morgan. Come back. Come back. Thank you. We play a round called Matt Hancocked It Up. This game involves Milton and Case. If you could make your way over to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch a wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Our first topic, please. Let's spin the wheel. The first subject is food. Who wants to come in with that? OK.
I found out I became middle class recently. I know, it was a blow to the heart. But I found out I became middle class recently because I became lactose intolerant, right? No, that's the sign of social mobility, guys. That's why Thatcher took away the milk. She knew what she was onto, OK, right? But it's annoying being lactose intolerant, man, because I realise there's certain things I'm never going to be able to do. Like, I'm never going to be a superhero. You look at Superman's weakness, it's kryptonite. What's mine? A chalk ice? Right? You know, who's my arch enemy? The milkman? Like... It's annoying, there's so much things you can't do. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, girls will say things like, my milkshakes brings all the boys to the yard. I'm just there like, can't come. Like... Do you have a soya-based alternative? You don't even sound hard asking for soya milk. I go into coffee shops asking for it like it's an illegal substance. Like, yo. You got soya? And the guy still makes it obvious. One soya latte! It's funny, though, how some foods have, like, class attached to it now. Like, people always bring up hummus and falafel, which to me is very weird because I'm from the Middle East, and in the Middle East, hummus and falafel is just street food, which begs the question, is the same thing going on over there? Like, you know, downtown Dubai, Mohammed and Ahmed, they're looking for something new to eat. He's got, oh, I've got a new delicacy, you're going to love it. What is it? Shepherd's pie. Do you know what I mean? Fatima and Layla walking around Beirut, you know, I've got some new classy establishment we can go to. What is it? Gregor's.
Well done, Kay. Thank you very much. That leaves us with Milton. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. And the topic is danger.
This morning, I attached a lock to the front of my house to slow down burglars who arrive by barge. What if the threat of diabetes combines with Islamic extremism in a new terror group called Chalk ISIS? A couple of days ago, I failed my driving test for going 31.5 miles an hour in a primary school. My uncle, he had a camera inserted internally, but he was annoying the wedding photographer. If you've got to tell someone bad news, best thing to do is to cut the words into the back of their hair. I'm sorry, I crashed your car. Because then when you show them in the mirror, they'll probably just say, oh, that's fine, thanks. Yeah. And if you get into a fight with someone, hit them as hard as you can straight away. Although I now know with hindsight that when my grandmother said, do you want to take this outside, she was talking about my bike.
Well done, thank you very much. Points there go to Milton Jones. Come on, both of you. Now we play a round called AstraZeneca, baby. This game involves Laura and Alistair. So if you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch the wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Our first topic, please. Let's spin the wheel. The first topic is shopping. Who wants to come in on that? Laura.
I fully hate shopping, and I've had to do quite a lot of it because of all the weight I've put on through the... I mean, who could have foreseen that being completely stationary with only access to supermarkets would have had this effect on my body? But here's the thing, though. I got called a bad feminist for wanting to lose my lockdown weight. My mate told me I was a bad feminist for it, and I was like, oh, sorry, babe, I didn't realise. Like, let me know. So for every stone I shed, how many women lose the vote? Didn't know it worked that way, you know, but she said I was a bad feminist, and I was like, oh, OK, why? And she said, well, it's the patriarchy, isn't it? The patriarchy makes you not like your body. And I was like, well, don't get me wrong, sweetheart, like, I love blaming men for stuff. It's... But in the case of what I look like, I don't remember a load of blokes coming round and making me biscuits. And And then she said I was being willfully silly, and I was like, yes, that sounds like me. And she said, no, it's the patriarchy. It makes you not like your body because you've got unrealistic body standards. And I was like, well, actually, babe, I think you're second-guessing me there. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think anybody should have to lose weight. But if we're going to be body positive, that's got to go both ways. And, like, in the case of me not liking my body, it's not that I don't like my body because I don't look like a supermodel. It's that I don't like my body because I can't walk to the shop in a dress in weather over 22 degrees without my thighs bleeding. That's all I'm really looking to get rid of. I don't want to be a size 0. I just want for all my clothes to be sitting down clothes. I'm tired of having a pile of trousers that I can wear, but only if I'm going to be stood up all day. And even then, I'll take my outfit off at the end of the day, and every single seam in everything I'm wearing is imprinted into my flesh in livid little red lines. When I get naked, I look like a tailor's training dummy.
Thank you very much, Laura. That leaves us with Alistair. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. And it's nationality.
So I'm half Scottish, and it's mostly concentrated in the face, which is a problem. Because I would like nothing better than to, you know, do celebrity impressions for you, but I can't, because whenever I try, they come out too Scottish. Like, if I try and do an impression of the actor Robert De Niro, I just look like a Scottish man who can't believe you're breaking up with him. Robert De Niro. I love you. You're my world. How could you do this to me? You hear it. It's subtly Scottish. But, of course, red hair is going extinct. I don't know if you've heard this. I read it in the newspaper. Apparently, red-headed people are going extinct because of climate change. And, like, wow. Yeah, I thought it was because nobody was having sex with us. Apparently, it's climate change. It is climate change, apparently. But that threw me. I thought, well, where does that leave red-headed people? What are we? A dying breed. And I realised what we are is the last great mythical beast of the British Isles. You know? Griffins, unicorns, the gingers. That's the way things are moving. And I envy you. I envy you, the non-gingers. You're going to be able to say one day to your great-great-grandchildren, you know, I saw one once. A live ginger. That's going to blow their minds. Oh, tell us, what was it like? Are the stories true? You'll say, oh, it was indescribably beautiful. I saw it there with the rays of light glinting in its copper mane as it gamboled about unsteadily on a pair of milk bottle legs. Pausing just momentarily to ritualistically apply high-factor sun cream. And then, children, it looked up at me and our eyes met, and we shared a magical moment. And then it ran off into the shade. And I shouted, ginger pubes! You have ginger pubes! To make sure that he knew.
Thank you very much, Alistair. Well done. That was great. Points there to Laura. Laura gets the points there. Come on, sit back. Now we play a round called COVID or Co-Home. This game involves Glenn and Evelyn, so if you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch a wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Let's have our first topic. Let's spin the wheel, please. The first subject is identity. Who wants to come in that? Evelyn.
That'll be me. Yeah. So I will just start by introducing myself to you guys so you get a sense of who you're dealing with here, because there is a lot going on in this person. Now, I am a Swedish-born, Chinese immigrant, working-class, plus-size, pansexual lady who's lactose intolerant. So, as you can tell, my cup just overfloweth with identity. And I find that it's a cup that no Brit wants to drink out of. Because you guys get confused by me. Anywhere I go, really, people can't place me. In Sweden, they presume I only speak English. In England, they think that I only speak Chinese. And as a Chinese girl, my relatives are super surprised I'm still alive. But I will say, I have been on your British shores now for about 9 years, so I feel like I'm British. For instance, if tonight doesn't go as well as I hope, I'll just internalize all my feelings about it, never address it, and take it to my grave. And I will say, I do appreciate the irony of being Chinese and poking fun of you Brits for being stoic, because we are a very reserved people as well. However, the difference I find is that when the Brits repress feelings, you tend to go into alcoholism. When the Chinese repress feelings, we go to work and take over the world. Which, ironically, you guys used to do. So.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much, everyone. That leaves us with Glenn. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. And the topic is family.
I've always had a very, very close relationship with my parents. I first realised that when I was at boarding nursery. And I was very close with all my relatives, actually. I love my grandparents. My grandma's an Elvis impersonator, in the sense that she's not alive anymore. And she died a few years ago. She lost her 8-year battle with not getting hit by a car. But I had close talks with all of my relatives. I remember when I was 15 years old, my uncle sat me down to have the talk, but it turns out I didn't know what sex was either. I like going to visit my parents, you know? Sometimes it's nice to visit your parents because it's nice to remind yourself of what loo roll is meant to feel like. I don't know where parents get their loo roll from. The towel section at John Lewis, it's got like a tog to it, so it's like trying to flush a duvet. It's excellent. I like going to visit my parents, but the only thing I don't like is how remote their village is. It's an area so remote that the last time I was there, I got a pop-up on my laptop saying, click here for pictures of lonely singles in your area, and I clicked on it, and it was just pictures of me. It's so remote. Basically, my parents live in a village that's got no phone signal, no radio signal, and some internet, which, as we all know, is significantly worse than no internet. Because at my parents' house, I can get no internet reception in my bedroom, but I can get perfect internet reception in the airing cupboard just across the shitting hallway. So if ever I wanted to load up some sort of mature content, I've got to load it up on my laptop, then I've got to take it to stream in the airing cupboard for 10 minutes, like some sort of porn microwave. Take it back to my bedroom again. You can guarantee halfway through a video it suddenly starts buffering again, so I've got to take it back to sexy Narnia. Trying to hop across the corridor with my trousers around my ankles. I can guarantee that's when my parents catch me in the act as well, so I look like the Pixar lamp. It's a nightmare situation to be in.
Thank you very, very much. Well done. Points there for Glenn. Well done. Both of you come back. Now we play a round called COP26, a load of these. This game involves Ivo and Alistair. If you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch the wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Our first topic, please. And the topic is class. Who wants to come in on that?
Oh, good.
Ivo.
I went to boarding school as a teenager. We did things differently there. Hello, old flame. I studied for 5 years at Eton College. Not a popular school, but that's something I've mentioned in pretty much every stand-up bit I've ever done, because as our headmaster always said, you've just got to own these things. That was advice from a separate conversation about land, but still made sense. I've been trying desperately, despite the school's reputation, to rebrand myself as a sort of likeable Etonian, like the actor Eddie Redmayne, who feigned a disability for money. In the film The Theory of Everything. I've got no other evidence. Obviously, I'm not proud of everything the school stands for, but I'm grateful for the education I received. I've got friends that I made there. Still got a lot of memorabilia from my time at Eton. I've got the Eton cufflinks, got the Eton tie, got an Eton advent calendar. It's like a normal advent calendar, but all the doors are open for you by your father's contact. And even though I'm trying to move away from certain stereotypes, I'm aware I still completely inhabit them. I've never met Boris Johnson, for example, but 2 years ago, I did actually take part in a bowls tournament with his brother. That's a genuine anecdote from my life, not something created by a posh twat auto-generator. I played in a bowls tournament with some friends. I wasn't expecting his brother Joe Johnson MP to be there. I tried to defend this to a friend a couple of days later by saying, and I direct quote, "I just didn't think it was going to be an especially posh bowls tournament." Probably the second most hateful thing I said in the chat after my friend said, "What is bowls anyway?" And I said, "Oh, it's basically the same as pétanque." Always good to have this prick on hand if you want French translated into different French. Thank you very much.
Brandon Ivory, thank you very much. OK, that leaves us with Alistair. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. And it's emotions.
I'm not great when it comes to expressing emotions. Now, I don't know if this is because I have Scottish ancestry. No way. Yes, way. I don't know if this is because I was actually raised a sassy Catholic. But I've looked at myself in the mirror, and I think the reason I'm bad at expressing emotions is I don't have eyebrows on my face. This is where they'd normally be on a human. And it's very difficult to express emotions without the basic facial equipment in situ. Oh, yeah, that's what's wrong with his face. Looks like someone put a wig on an egg. I don't know if I'd go that far. It's a troubling face. You know, I can't smile, really. My mouth is too little. If I want to smile, I have to deliberately raise my upper lip like a rusty medieval portcullis. It's not the face of a man expressing joy, that, is it? At best, that's the face of a man trying to gauge the value of livestock. Yes, she's a fine beast and no mistake. I'll give you 14 guineas, but not a penny more. The only person in our house who's any good at expressing emotions is our Hoover. Like, when we're hoovering together, oh, he loves that, but he does not like to be left alone. Like, when we're together, it's like... A friend did the introvert test on me recently, which is basically, would you rather be on your own in a room or in a room full of people all saying how brilliant you are? And if I'm being honest, my ideal situation would be a room full of people all saying how brilliant I am, but I'm not there. I want it to happen, but I don't want to be present. And she said, that is awake.
Thank you very much, Alistair. Well done. And points there to Alistair. Come on back. Now we play a round called Sleazy Come, Sleazy Go. This game involves Sarah and Glenn, so if you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch the wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Our first topic, please. The first subject is parents. Who wants to come in on that? Sarah.
Hello. How you doing? You all right? My mum and dad have been married for 40 years, which is insane, isn't it? It's incredible. I've been watching them, trying to work out how you do it for that long. I think it's amazing to be in a relationship for that amount of time. I think I've worked it out. Looking at them, I think what has to happen to want to be in a relationship for that long in order to make it work is one of you, the weaker one, gives up. That's the answer, isn't it? You just surrender to the other person. That's what you do. You say, of course, whatever you think, I think. Whatever you do, I do. That is the answer. My dad has completely given up on life. He's happy, he's content, but he's absolutely gone. Like, the most recent time, I went home, I walked through the front door into the kitchen, I found my dad on his own, and he was just staring at a lasagna. And I popped my head around the door. I said, hiya, Dad, are you all right? And he looked up and he went, oh, yeah, I'm all right. Hello. Yeah, I'm just having a look at my lasagna. And I went, oh, all right. And he went, come and have a look. And I did. I went over, and I have to tell you, it was literally just a lasagna. My mum will never give up on anything in her life. My mum is the strongest woman I've ever met in life. She's incredible. When I was 5 years old, my mum had cancer, and she's completely fine now. She's absolutely fine. The only way it's impacted her life, she had to have her breast removed, and then she had it reconstructed. And all that means now, it just means that she's got one impeccable tit. And the other one is 68 years old. Think about that. That's a double act. It's not fair, is it? Because it's a 23-year-old and a 68-year-old. It's not. The 23-year-old knows that she's a cracking tit. She wants to be out. She wants to be seen all the time. It's like the 68-year-old is sat next to her like, well, you know, some people say that we look like sisters. Thank you. Some of you might be worried about my mother there. She has actually she's seen me say that. She came to watch me do a performance. Then afterwards, I introduced her to somebody that she'd never met before, and the first thing she said was, go on then, guess which one's which. She's absolutely fine. Thank you.
OK, that leaves us with Glenn. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. And the topic is manners.
I think a lot of people assume, because of my voice, that I'm going to have good manners. I think if you're trying to place my accent, I was born in Cathkidston. No, I try and, you know, pretend I sort of have good manners. You know, I try and pretend I'm sort of sophisticated. You know, I'm the sort of person, like, I'll wear a Che Guevara T-shirt, but, you know, I couldn't name any of his songs. It's, No, I'm not intelligent enough. I don't know anything. You know, I realised just during lockdown, I realised I don't know the phonetic alphabet. You might not think that matters, but I had to spell out my postcode to the bank, and my postcode ends in JP, and the guy over the phone was like, sorry, is that AB? And I was like, no, it's JP, and he was like, AB, and I was like, no, it's JP for Joaquin Phoenix. I've been embarrassed when I'm around people more intelligent than me, and I mean that real deep-rooted childhood embarrassment, like when you accidentally call your teacher Dad, you know, instead of Daddy. I think that was the worst. Actually, I went out with a girl way more intelligent than me who was actually a teacher, and I love dating a teacher. I don't want to get sordid, but when I went out with a teacher, we had sex every single day. And then we broke up, and then I dated a supply teacher, and we never had sex. She'd just wheel out a big telly and we just watched porn. But she was horrible to me all the time. She'd criticise me. You know, she wasn't polite at all. She'd always be like, Glenn, you're an idiot. Why haven't you tidied the flat? Glenn, you're an idiot. Why do you use all 10 fingers when you do air quotes? Yeah, whatever, Becky. I don't know. She's horrible to me. She told me I've got a stupid name. I was like, my name's only Glenn Moore. What's wrong with that? And she was like, Glenn Moore, your name's basically just Field. How hard is it to just be polite to people? You know, I don't understand how people are out there being rude to people all the time, just leaving a trail of emotional destruction in their wake, like Thelma and Louise in that movie I can never remember the name of. I just don't understand. It's social etiquette. I love social etiquette. Start from the outside cutlery, work your way into the McFlurry spoon. I love everything about social etiquette. I couldn't believe how rude she was to me. It was just unnecessary. She took me out to this restaurant to break up with me. She was horrible to me all the time. And she told me she wanted to break up with me. She said I was too polite, too formal. And she said that to me right in the middle of Wagamother. Just...
Thank you very much, Glenn Moore. At the end of that round, the points go to Sarah Keyword. Come on back. Now, we play a round called HS Too Fast, HS Too Furious. This game involved Jen and Ahar, so if you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch the wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Let's spin the wheel for our first topic. The first topic is parenting. Who wants to come in that? Jen.
Yes, I am a parent. I have twins with my partner. No, we're not solicitors. We are lesers. Just to be clear what our situation is, I am the non-biological mum, and my girlfriend is the biological mum. And yes, that is how we refer to each other at home. Like we're boxes of detergent. She's personal, I'm Daz. That's just how we do it. Now, look, I don't know how everyone copes during lockdown, but I found it pretty difficult to create boundaries for our children during lockdown. It was tricky. And I think it was easier for my parents, because when I was a kid, it was the 80s, and it was easy to create boundaries for your children in the 80s, because if your kid was misbehaving, you just give them a slap. Yeah, no one judged you. People didn't judge you, society didn't judge you. In fact, if you were misbehaving in public as a kid, it was quite normal for people to look at you and go, Why is no one hitting that kid? Sorry, is no one going to hit? Right, I'm going to hit it, right. And the parents would be like, oh, thanks, sweetheart, I've got my hands full. That was really... It's got quite tense, hasn't it? I feel like there's a little bit of judgment there. No one judges you harsher than another woman, OK? No one, yeah? Because there's always one mum doing it better than you. She can't keep that to herself, you know. She can't keep it to herself. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear your children aren't sleeping. Poor you. Oh, Johnny here. He's slept through since birth. Do you know what I think it is? I think it's something to do with the energy you give your children. I really believe that. And I think if you give your children positive energy, they really feed off that energy and they internalise it. And you know, this is the kind of woman that has a piece of her daughter's placenta around her neck, you know. She makes her own almond milk. I feel like saying to her, do you want to know why your kid is sleeping, love? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because you've bored him to death. With your tedious courtesy, all stop worshipping bullshit.
Thank you very much, Bristol. OK, that leaves you with Ahar. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. It's home life. Where you go.
So, at the beginning of 2020, I just started living alone for the first time. That was a good idea, wasn't it? I'll see friends in the evenings. It's fascinating living on your own. I recommend it. You learn a lot about your friends, about society, yourself, yeah? One of the first things you learn is that when you live on your own, no one interferes, but equally, no one checks. It's like, everything all right in there? It isn't. It's fascinating. You learn how much of your normality was only ever a performance for your flatmates. I clocked within about a fortnight that it was only the continued presence of either Will or Tom that meant that I didn't always have at least some cum on me. I like my cum, but still an awful look, you know? I'm living my best life. This is what it looks like to see a young guy living his best life. What I was actually living through was a low-grade mental breakdown and a minor eating disorder. And this eventually came to a head after a couple of months when, right, guys, you know how you think you can't get scurvy? I am here to tell you that if for a period of, let's call it 2 months, very little passes your lips that is not gin or crisps, you can yourself begin to exhibit the telltale signs of scurvy. Despite the fact that you are not, and I cannot stress this enough, never have been an 18th century naval explorer. I'd have been fine if I just put lime in the gin. It's fine. I just started buying juice. How bad could it be if the cure's orange juice? But I'm not a doctor. I just look like I'd make an excellent one.
Thank you very much, Ahar. And that round, folks, go to Jen. Come on back. We play a round called Omicron. Gotta catch 'em all. This game involves Johnny and Ahar, so if you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launched the wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Let's have our first topic, please. The first subject is the human body. Who wants to go in? Johnny.
My name's Johnny. I'm quite a weird man. Got a bit of a messed up body, nothing too bad. Cleft lip, webbed toes, more nipples than is ideal. I've actually got something called popliteal pterygium syndrome. There's about 1 in 300,000 of us. So it's quite rare, just about 200 of us in the UK. Just about 20 of us in London now. Just sort of walking around amongst you, being weird. Do we have any others in? We never do. I quite like my body now, but there's a problem at school, because kids can be mean. I remember one day in RE, religious education, we were debating whether or not God exists. That was the bit, whether or not God exists, going sort of back and forth. I tuned out. I was pretty sure they weren't going to solve it. Then I got brought back into the room because I heard my name, and it turned out quite a pretty girl was trying to use me and my body to disprove the existence of God. Because, like, well, if God's all-knowing and all-powerful, then why would he create John? With his body and his nipples and everything. The worst thing about it, even the teacher was like, I do not have an answer to that question. When I was about 10, I was in a wheelchair for about 6 months. I quite enjoyed being in a wheelchair. It was good crack. I'd recommend it if you ever get the chance. But my parents just feeling I was hating it, right? It was like a nice, fun thing. Organised me to go on a holiday camp designed for disabled people. But it was called Camp Courage. And it was crap. And the problem was, the people working there took it as their job to, like, raise our self-esteem and make us feel really good about ourselves. But the way they decided to do that, just by telling us we were brave, whatever we were doing. They'd be like, wow, that's so brave. Wow, that's so brave. I tell you from experience, guys, there are a few things worse than being told you're brave for continuing to exist. Like the main guy, he was a bellend. He was like 40, he was spotty, he had an earring, and the haircut of a man who refused to accept that in all probability his band weren't going to make it. And on the last night, we sort of sat around a campfire, it was sort of fine but crap, and he said, you know what I think is the bravest thing that you can do? It's to keep being the wonderful people that you are. But sometimes the bravest thing that you can do is to tell your camp organiser to piss off. Even if it does mean that you have to spend 20 minutes on the naughty ramp.
Thank you very much, Johnny. That leaves us with Ahar. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. And it's nationality. Ahar.
So, I am British Indian, or Alpha Delta, as we're now called. I'm a British Indian, but my dad is Indian, right? He's aggressively into it, too much, to the extent... My dad has lived in various Western societies for over 4 decades now and has steadfastly refused to integrate into any of them, but he's not Muslim, so no one minds. But this is how little my dad's bothered to learn, right? When I was 8 years old, my dad ran downstairs with a piece of paper covered in my handwriting, and he took this paper and he thrust it towards my mother, and he said, Ulka, look at this poem that I found in little Ahir's room. Oh, he's a genius, writing poetry like this, aged only 8. He's a troubled boy, to be clear from the tone of the poem, but you read this poem, you tell me that our 8-year-old son isn't a genius. And my mother took this piece of paper, gave it a quick once-over, looked back at my dad and said, Vikram, these are the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody. The single most famous song that has ever been written in the English language. And my dad was like, well, it's English, why would I ever have bothered to learn that? He just said, Freddie Mercury's sort of Indian, and he was like, I'm immediately interested. But in his patriotic fervour, my dad suggested that I apply to become something called an overseas citizen of India, an OCI. It's like a dual nationality thing, and I took him up on the suggestion, and I applied and I got it. I enjoy being British, but I've read the news and I can take a hint. Right? Well, I applied, and my favourite part of doing so was the online application form. This is where the paranoia of the Indian government met the bureaucracy of the Indian government, met the technological ineptitude of the Indian government. And it is the most fun I have ever had in normal browsing mode. They started off so innocuous. They were just like, first name Ahir, surname Shah. What are your mother and father's names? Vikram and Ulka Shah. And where were they born? Was it Pakistan? What industry do you work in from this drop-down menu? And what is your annual income band? How often do you wear green? You got any children or other dependents? Favourite type of moon? If crescent, why? I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't be Indian. If I have to live in a country that's so pointlessly hostile to Muslims, it might as well be here. It's closer.
Thank you very much. OK, at the end of that round, points go to Johnny. Come on, thank you very much. Now we play a round called Feliz Navidad. This game involves Glenn and Milton, so if you could make your way to the performance area, please. This round is a stand-up challenge. I launch a wheel of news, and wherever it chooses to stop, one of our performers must step forward and talk about that subject. OK, here we go. Our first topic, please, is spin the wheel. The first issue is growing up. Who wants to come in that? Glenn.
I think I need to grow up more. I was discussing this the other day with my pen pal, and I've always tried to be sort of quite grown up and sensible. You know, I've never sent like a dick pic or a scrotograph. It's not the sort of thing. No, and even then, that doesn't suit me to say. And don't worry, I'm not just going to start throwing out just random dick jokes, just willy-willy. I'm not the sort of person who does it. No, I'm very sort of, you know, very sort of sensible person. Very sort of like no sex before marriage, it turns out, and. No, I think because I try and act sensible, people usually assume I'm sort of posh or something like that. I'm not posh. I hate it when people accuse me of being posh. It annoys me. I think the next time someone accuses me of being posh, I'm going to put my head in the Aga. I tried to sort of do quite sensible things this year. Tried to be a grown-up, sensible person. Like in October, I gave up beer for the whole month as part of Go Sober for October. Last month, did a minute silence every day as part of Go Somber for November. At the beginning of this year, I fulfilled a lifelong dream. I finally went swimming with Dolph Lundgren. It was a real dream for me. No, I learned a lot this year. I learned that saying, oh, what, this old thing is not an appropriate way to introduce an elderly relative. People have had an excuse over the past 18 months to, you know, not necessarily have your lives together. It's been a difficult time for people. It was the Fred West of times. It was the Fred Durst of times. It was it was difficult. You know, it was a stressful time for a lot of people. And sure, you know, you haven't truly known stress until you've had food poisoning during a massage. But, you don't have to have your life together because, you know, we're just lucky to be here. We're lucky to have survived this pandemic so far. You've got to know luck when you see it. I've known lucky people in my life. The luckiest person I ever met was a guy who used to live on my parents' road. He used to live in America, and in 2001, he was meant to be on the first plane to hit the World Trade Center, but he accidentally slept in, and he missed his flight, and all the other terrorists just left without him. That's lucky.
Thank you very much for that. So that leaves us with Milton. Let's see what your topic is. Let's spin the wheel. And it's nature.
I was in the high street the other day. This bloke came up to me. He said, I've got a petition. I've got a petition about ivory hunting. I said, are you for or against? He said, well, would you endorse it? I said, there aren't any elephants endorse it. He said, you shouldn't joke about such things. I could put you in hospital. I looked him in the eye and I said, I was born in hospital. My uncle, he was one of the last people to have one of the old lead pacemakers. He died quite recently. Lovely man. We buried him. We buried him with a heavy heart. I tell you what's a dangerous insect is that hepatitis B. My neighbours, they're both naturists. I see them quite often, but not for very long, but I'm glad I bought the trampoline. I tell you what's a dangerous place to swim is that hepatitis C.
Thank you very much. Dinner and what goes to Milton Jones. Come on back.